Hi, you're listening to Supernormalized, and I'm your host, CJ. Today we have for you an interview which was a bit off the cuff with a friend, Alex. She's a traveller, and we could find no place that was actually really good and quiet, so we decided to go for recording live with a microphone outside and then moved inside to another space because that got noisy too. Unfortunately, some of the sound in this is a bit iffy, but you can still get across the ideas in the discussion quite easily. We cover possession and different aspects of contact with spirits and clearing of those possessions and more. Enjoy. So today we have a lady that's had many unusual experiences, and with her and her partner, and her name is Alex. Hello, Alex.
Hi, how are you?
Okay. I'm good, and I hope you're good too. So you've had some experiences in another country. What country is that?
In Bali.
In Bali,
Yeah.
Okay. And how long have you been in Bali now?
More than a year and a half now, almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years, okay.
Yeah.
And what drove you to Bali?
Well, my partner had a job there, but
Yeah.
I've been to Bali for the past 15 years. About each year I was gonna spend a month there, and then each time I would have like some interesting experiences, but some of them were more interesting than others.
Oh, okay. So more interesting than others. Do you have anything that stands out for you that you'd like to talk about first?
Yeah. One of them that was the one that really stuck in my mind was when we decided to do some house sitting in a place in Bali. Mm-hmm. And at first sight, I thought this place was really beautiful and amazing. We had to keep some cats and fish, and so I was all excited about it. But my partner wasn't too excited about this place, and I could not really understand why. He said he had like a weird vibe about it, and he was like, okay. Back then we were just traveling around the world, so we didn't have so much money, and we chose to actually go there despite the fact that he wasn't feeling it too well, just to save a little bit. And but the first day we actually entered the house, he started to have very strange reactions. So he couldn't breathe. He was not feeling good. His head was dizzy, this type of thing. So I thought it was because the house was very dusty, and this woman who was having this house was, a hoarder. She was collecting things, and it was quite disgusting actually. Mm. So I started to clean up the whole house, and everything was sparkling clean. And he could not sleep at night. He was still short of breath when he was in the house. And one day he was just trying to find some sage, but you can't find sage in Bali, so he found some other plants that are very similar to sage to actually clear up the space. And he was smudging the house. And at the same time, our good friend, who is a massage guy, a Balinese guy, who's very into meditation and praying, arrives in the house and start to ask John, what are you doing? Because in Bali they don't really smudge or anything. They do other type of things to clear up space.
Spirits, yeah.
And John started to explain what was the symptom, and so he said, oh yeah, okay, I'm going to sit down and see what I feel, because he's very sensitive to spirits. He works a lot with spirits and stuff like that. Mm. He sat down, meditated, and said, oh wow, did you know you're not alone here in this house? And we were like, okay, no, we're not aware of that.
How did that feel?
Well, we actually, at first I thought it was just spirits who were not transitioned properly through the different realms. So yeah, I just felt like, okay, it's fixable. It's okay, no worries, we'll fix that. And plus, with this help, it's gonna be easy. So I just asked him to help me to send them to the light, and he was like, no, you don't understand. You don't understand. It's not dead people. We are not talking about dead people here. We are talking about people who are actually living like you and me, but in parallel dimensions. So those people, they've been there way before the humans were on Earth. Well, that's given from the Balinese tradition. So they're used to work and live with those people. Apparently they can see us, but we can't see them.
Right.
But they are living like you and me. They have scooters and they have their daily lives and everything. You know, like apparently it's pretty like normal.
Yeah.
The problem was that it was a family of maybe four people, and he felt that they were very sad. And he said, "Oh, they tell me they're really sad because this house hasn't had offerings for many, many, many years."
Because it's a very strong tradition in Bali.
Yeah.
Offer to the spirits.
Exactly, yeah. And I never paid attention to that before, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna take that with a grain of salt. You know, Balinese people they tend to have like very paranormal way of looking at things, and so I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna ask around what people think about that. So the morning after, I asked Made, the cleaner, Made, do you do any offering in that house? And she's like, no, I don't do offerings here because the owner is Buddhist, and I don't want to hurt her feelings around religion, stuff like that. So I don't do any offering. And I asked her, do you know how long this house has been without offerings? She said, well, more than 7 years, because this house has been built by Japanese people who have different views on religion. And not only we don't have offerings in that house, but there is no temple here. So each house in Bali should have a temple that is consecrated for the house, where you have, usually it starts with the sacrifice. They sacrifice a chicken or duck or even dogs sometimes. And it's like a gift of blood for the spirits. So they have different realms. They do offerings for the lower realms, the middle ones like us, and the higher realms, the angels, this type of thing. So actually they cater for everybody, but this house didn't have any type of thing like this. And on top of it, this compound where we were didn't have any men for the past 7 years. It was only women living there for 7 years. So I talked to the neighbor, and the neighbor was like, "Oh yeah, I've been living here for a couple of years already, and yeah, I see in the garden I can see sometimes like a shape, like a woman with a long white dress crossing the garden from time to time." But she said the scariest thing that she had is that her bed was trembling from time to time. It was shaking, like out of the blue, like this, from time to time, every 2 months, every 3rd month. Her bed would shake. Yeah, she had events when she was, actually it's when she was going to sleep, the bed was shaking. And I asked her, are you not concerned with that? And she's like, it's part of being in Bali, it's part of the life here in Bali, it's just like, So
It's interesting how people can shrug things off like that when, obviously the spirits are like, give me attention.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
Yeah. And it does all make sense because my friend who meditated and he came here for the first time, he had no idea of, what was there before, and everything was starting to match. So I was starting to take things a little bit more seriously because...
Yeah. Because your overview of the whole situation is coming together.
Yes, yeah. The offering things, the neighbor who sees and feels things in the area, and so that was a little bit concerning. And but the problem is that we tried actually to do some offerings ourselves, but being a Westerner, you have no idea what to do. So with good intentions, we tried to do some offerings, and yeah, nothing changed really. We asked Made, our cleaner, to help us. She did what she could, but what the house needed was a temple with proper sacrifice and ritual.
You can't really do that without permission of the owner, probably.
Yeah. So, and the problem started to come when John was feeling worse and worse. Actually, he was not in his best shape. And one day we decided to go to yoga and took our bicycle. And we had to cross the monkey forest. So monkey forest, it's where you have a river and a bridge, and it's a little bit like broken. The road is broken, and we were a little bit behind him. And I was with a friend, and so he was, really going fast and everything. But we arrived at the bridge, and we saw him sitting on the side of the bridge with the leg hanging like this, and the bike down like a few hundred meters down in the river.
What?
And he was completely shocked, and his arm was wounded and everything. And I was like, what are you doing? What happened?
Yeah.
And he said, actually, what happened is that when he was on the top of the hill, just at that moment, a bug entered his ear. He lost control of the bike. The only thing he remembered is that he fell and the bike went above his head. And he ended up sitting on the side of the bridge. He could have fell there and, if not injured himself, could have died, right? Because it's so high.
So that would have been shocking for you. You've actually come down the hill and you see him just sitting on the side of the bridge, dazed and confused.
Yeah.
And the bike down below, and he can't really explain it.
No. I mean, it's just a series of coincidences that made him fall, really, because and then just to make that this little highlight there, we just finished traveling the world for 16 months, and we were most of the time on bicycle, and he never had any type of accident in those 16 months. So
wow.
He's really good in bicycle. He doesn't have any issue with that, and so yeah, that was very strange. I mean, the day before, he actually on the way to the house at maybe 200 meters or even less from the house, he actually fell on the bicycle as well, and he scratched himself. And but the day after, that's when he actually fell for good. Right. He hurt his arm. He was bleeding and stuff. And actually, it's funny because one of the yoga teacher asked him, "Oh, what happened to you? Did you fall or something?" And he said, "Yeah. I don't know. It's very strange what happened to me." She said, you offered some blood for the land or something like that. You had your sacrifice done, right? Like you were asked to give some blood or something." And then he was a bit confused with that statement. And she said, yeah, it's quite classic here in Bali that people get through initiations by having either an accident or something, and then the blood is shed, and it's kind of considered as an offering for the land.
Yeah, wow.
So, but from my own experience, what I understood is that spirit tend to try to weaken the body of someone by creating accident or shocks like trauma, or something like illness, something like that, in order for them to actually take control of your body. And that in that case it made sense because I was with a friend in the house. We were both women, and the only man was John, and everything happened to him. We had nothing happen to us.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did things settle down after that? After you gave blood?
Well, things got really interesting because after that, he became out of control. He was in a state of mind which was so unbearable for us, not only for me as a wife, but for my friend, that we had to leave the house because we couldn't stand his behavior. He was just constantly angry and talking shit, and that type of thing, was really, uncomfortable. And so, we were very often out of the house because we couldn't stand being with him. And so he asked our friend, the massage guy, to come and do some healing. And he was, oh my God, I can see you have entities in your body. You have at least 6 different entities in your body. And so he did some healing on him, but he could really release only 1 or 2 or something like that, and the rest was just stay there. And he said, they're making babies, they're reproducing, they're making babies in your body. You need to see someone like more qualified than me, because I can't help you there. And that's when we actually drove for 2 hours, 2 or 3 hours to see that healer. She's a high-ranked healer in Gianyar, which is an area in Bali. And so I was there. I could see him working with her. He was sitting. I was sideways, from him. I was looking at him. So I could see the healer in front of him, and she asked for an assistant because she couldn't actually handle the whole thing on her own.
Right.
And I could see the assistant working on John as well on the other side. And but I could see how they were moving their hands. They couldn't see each other because John was in the middle. It was in between them. But I could see they were moving their hands in perfect synchronicity, like synchronized. Like they were like moving from the belly to the head, and then they were moving their hands in the same time in the same area. So that was quite impressive to watch. And a lot of air came out of him. Lots of, he was about like to throw up something, but he didn't. He was just like releasing air, some stuff. I don't know. And after that, things settled actually.
So after that, spirits were gone according to them. Yeah. And he didn't express any of the craziness from
after back to normal. Actually, what happened is that we actually left the house because it was just becoming unmanageable. It was just unmanageable. So we moved to another villa somewhere, like a guest house. And but our friend said, it doesn't matter that you moved because they followed you. They're in your body anyway. So they're like, you need to do a proper, ritual and healing, because it's, no matter you will go, they will be there inside, making babies,
Oh, wow. But they're gone now, right?
Yeah. They're all cleared. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And how does he feel about all that?
Well, for a long time he was very scared about being possessed again. So he purchased all type of stones he could get, obsidian and tourmaline, black tourmalines, and all sorts of protections, all sorts of things. And then I introduced him to praying to archangels as well, to protect, because it's not his culture. So we were praying archangels, Archangel Michael, this type of thing. We were doing a lot of things like this back then. Yeah. But over the years, he actually built up some confidence around this, and then now he doesn't need the stones or the prayers. He's just capable of protecting himself just by his own intention and being aware of what's around him.
Okay. Yeah. Well, spirits are always around, and and as far as I understand it, they're willing to jump on you anytime you leave a little port open. They're on you. Yeah. So they want to have somebody to feed on and ride. So it's good that he's so aware. Yeah. Wow, that's really interesting and really intense.
It was, yeah.
So you have some other experiences that you wanted to share from before?
Actually one that actually links quite well with that story.
Okay.
Because it takes place in Indonesia also.
Sure.
It's the time when I actually discovered I was a victim of black magic.
Oh, so how long ago was this?
Just a year and a half ago when I arrived in Indonesia.
Oh, so is this like somebody put a spell on you straight as soon as you arrived, or?
Not exactly that. It's a little bit more complex than that. What happened is that I absorbed some black magic in a market somewhere. So it was not directed to me.
So it was accidental.
Yeah. Was not directed to me. It was like what happened is that I had to do a quarantine in Jakarta for 5 days, and during that quarantine I went through quite a few different shocks and traumatism, like at least 2 or 3 big shock that I felt like I was falling in a hole, and I had to lie down So really, I had proper PTSD, you know.
From those shocks.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you think they left you open for the black magic to soak in?
Yes. So I became very weak. I lost weight, like I think I lost 2 kilos in 5 days. So really, really fast, losing weight. And I could feel that I was losing my energy very fast. And that made me like a sponge for any negative energy. And at the end of the quarantine, we went to that big market, massive market in Jakarta to get some fresh fruits, because we were eating only rubbish stuff at the hotel with a lot of MSG.
If that's all you could get at the time, though, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was just like so poisonous. So we wanted some fresh fruit, and it was a very strange vibe market. It was all fear-based. It was right in the middle of COVID, when people were completely overwhelmed by the fear, and they could see us. We were the only white people in the market, and I could see that the very strange look as well, because they were, you know, who are those people? They are gonna bring their viruses or this type of thought. I could feel that very clearly, but I don't believe that anyone actually intentionally send me black magic. I think they were doing that between themselves, and then I went in the field and then I absorbed that. Yeah.
Right. Or you might have been near somebody that had been attacked and you soaked up their attack.
Yeah. No, it's not consciously, but yeah. So, but I became aware of that because I spiraled down really into a proper depression when I was in Bali. I lost another 3 kilos after that. I couldn't put my weight back. And then I was diagnosed with, like when you leak energy, like by my Ayurvedic doctor. She said, oh, wow, you're not doing well. So I was on the treatment and everything. And I also had to go and see a healer because I started to experience some unexplainable pain in my body. And I went to see a doctor. The doctor said she couldn't see anything. Everything was perfectly normal. My blood test came up perfect. But I was in intense pain, which was completely preventing me from living my life normally, because I would not be able to actually even interact with people because the pain was so strong. I had to come back home and just curl on my bed and wait until that ends, and that would come up every third, fourth day. Intense crisis. Yeah. And really that was like just, and plus the depression, so I decided to go and see a healer. And that's when I saw the healer that he discovered that it was black magic. And
is that quite common though?
Very common. Right. Very common.
So they diagnose black magic in a blink. They're like,
yeah.
Because they've seen it before.
Yeah. And they can treat you very effectively as well, like he's been using, there's a very interesting process actually, because he worked with his wife, and then so you start with having a massage with the wife, and she does like a very strong massage on you. It's very painful, and it kind of prepares your body for the healing. So after that you go with him and you lie down outside on a bamboo stuff, like mat, and he presses some points in your body, and then some points are unexplainable. It's very inexplainable how painful they are. It's not just knots or something in your body. It's just it's very strange. It doesn't press a lot. It just press.
It hurts a lot.
But it hurts. Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean exactly.
Crazy stuff. Yeah. He also used a moringa stick. So it's like a little. It's a very soft stick from a tree. So it's not a hard stick, right? But he puts that in between your toes, and he presses the toes against the stick, and he pulls very fast.
So it's like soaking it up.
Yeah, and that hurts the most. That's horrible. That's just horrible. Yeah, I was.
So it feels
screaming.
like something's being pulled out of you, and as it comes out, it hurts to pull it out.
Yes, the pain is just. It's unbelievable, because the stick is small and flexible, right?
Yeah.
Shouldn't hurt.
It shouldn't hurt like that.
No.
Yeah.
But it's so painful. I had like a 3 session with him, and each session he would say, I removed about like 20% of the black magic or 30%, or it was funny using the percentage. But I could feel a massive difference,
Straight
every
away.
time. Yeah. So the crisis would come again, but in a much longer interval. Like it's, instead of having them every 3rd day, I would have them maybe every 10 days, and then after that every month.
Oh, wow.
And then after the 3rd session, and after that, after each session, we would go to the sea as well. We would go on the beach, and he would do some offerings and prayers, and then we have to soak completely in the water, with some flowers and some ritual there, and we have to swallow the water, swallow the salt water.
Yeah.
But the water there is not super clean, and I was
Didn't taste
concerned
very
I would be sick after, Yeah. But everything went
worked.
okay.
Yes.
I didn't get sick, but I guess we were protected somehow with the prayer. But I got healed thanks to him. So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And any other thing that's happened in Bali that you'd like to talk about?
Nothing as intense as that. Nothing. There, like they say in Bali, I remember this meme. Like it's a picture, the same picture on the top and bottom of the image, and you can see the feet of someone lying in the bed at night with the window open, and then it's a clear night sky with stars, and it says, anywhere in the world where you have a holiday, your night, while you sleep at night, it's like this. And then the same picture on the bottom with the same feet in the bed, and then in front in the window is like all a series of ghosts and entities and demons and stuff like this. And that's your night in Bali, that's how you sleep in Bali.
You can relate to that.
Actually one night somewhere else, we were sleeping in a villa, and John saw a shadow going next to me. So it felt like a dog. Felt like it was a dog coming next to me, but the house was closed and everything, so it couldn't have been the dog. And he jumped on the bed, and he was like, he was like, what's going on? What happened to you? Like, there's something in the house, in the room, but we couldn't find anything. It was just like he saw clearly a shadow coming next to me.
Wow, a spirit dog.
Yeah, something we don't know. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
But it felt like a dog.
Yes, it felt like a dog. Yeah.
Wow.
But there was a shadow, like I don't know. The veil is very thin there in Bali. If you're sensitive, you might actually be able to see and hear things more than usual.
Yeah, when I've been in Bali, I've had experiences. I wouldn't say anything like that, but I did notice that because of how open I am, I was hearing language. Like I'd walk around and I'd hear spirits whispering, and I'd hear words which are in Indonesian, and I'd go and find out what they are, and they were like talking about things in the area. I was like, wow, that's really interesting.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that was happening to me quite a lot. And,
Wow.
I love Bali because of how spiritual it is and how people give offering to the spirits. And, and how connected everything is there.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds fantastic. I'm glad that you got through those experiences. Now, you had migraines for 5 years straight.
Yeah. No, no. All my life I had migraine.
All your life.
Yeah, all my life. But I was migraine free for 5 years. Yes.
Oh. Okay.
And it came back again after that.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you still have migraines now then?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
And so no prayer seems to lift that or anything?
Actually, I should start working on that again. But I remember one day I healed that for 5 years actually, but it was very unintentional. I didn't plan at all to work on that. But I was just visiting a friend who is an energy healer, and he does past life regressions. And I was curious about the past life regression, and I just did a session with him. And so I lie down, and we started the session. And the way he works is that he makes you remember your childhood and the moment of your birth and when you were in the womb of your mom and before that and the only thing I could remember was I was just in a very quiet space. Nothing really interesting was happening. So it would be like, okay, let's go back before that again. And then I would remember a time when I was a little boy in the countryside and keeping goats. And he was very disappointed because nothing interesting was happening in that past life regression. So we would go back again and another past life before that. And then that past life seemed to be interesting because I remember being a little boy again. So apparently I was I haven't had any women experience in past lives, as far as I know. And I could see very clearly. I had very clear images during that time of the regression. I was really small because I could see the floor was very close to my eyes. So I maybe would have been maybe 3-4 years old or something like that. And I could see the floor was paved with big stones, and I could hear the sound of a horse galloping, like a carriage coming in. And I clearly saw the horse coming closer and closer. And then after that, I was seeing myself like the little boy from above, soaking in a pool of blood.
Oh.
Yeah.
You were killed by the horse? Not
killed, but injured. So I was like, I think I was injured and stuff. And at that time, at that moment, when during the session, I said to Asa, the healer, the past life regression facilitator, I said, "Oh man, I think I spent too long on the floor because I feel a big pain in my head. It's very painful." And it actually matched the moment when I saw the hit happening with the horse. And that was very interesting because I at the moment on that time I didn't see the relation with that, but after it made sense. And then after that, another sequence was I was in a bed, but I was older. I was maybe 8-9 years old, and I had all the family around, taking care of me, giving me some ointment and bandage and stuff like that, like pills and I don't know. But I was not able to walk. And that's why I was in the bed and this type of thing. And I could see myself starting going to school. So I could see clearly what I was wearing. It looked like, those shorts that the boys was wearing in the 30s with the leather backpack and this type of thing. So I was like, okay, I make sure I remember so I can see what time it would roughly match. And then I was walking on the side of the road and I fainted. I just fainted. I was gone.
Wow.
And that's all that I remembered from that past life during the childhood, because right after I could see myself again, but I was a grown-up man, like in the 20s, 30s, something like that. And Asa asked me, "Oh, okay. And so now that you're grown up, you look how you feel. Like how do you feel?" And I said, "Oh, I feel great. I feel really good. I feel healthy, and I feel full of energy." He said, "Oh, wow, great. What do you feel like doing then? Do you want to go dancing or get married, have kids? Do you want to, I don't know, get involved in some work?" And I said, no, I don't want any of that. And I felt strongly in my body. I felt something very strong in myself. I wanted to go to war. Yeah, I was carrying a rifle. And I was ready to go and fight. And that was the only thing that was important for me. I wanted to go and fight.
Wow. Right.
And so I saw myself in the battlefield. And I was running down a hill. And that was like a valley type of thing. And I could see the opponent, the enemies in front. They were dressed up as, those English guard at the Buckingham Palace.
Yes.
But instead of wearing red, they were wearing bright blue costume. I've never seen that in my life. So I thought, oh my God, me imagining something, or
Yeah.
because it can't be, it's normally it's red, right? So, but they were wearing those blue costume with the gold button, with the long hat like this, like a fur hat, and they were on horses. So I was like, it's not very practical to go to war with those big long hats. It doesn't really make sense. It was very surreal. Anyway, I just saw myself running down and with the gun and falling in the mud, and it was very messy, and I couldn't really picture what was happening in that moment. But right after, I was in a carriage somewhere, like, because I could feel the shake of the carriage bringing me somewhere, and I understood I was made prisoner, right? So I was in a cell, there was many cells. There was in the lower ground of prison or something. I could see the guards as well. It became really clear as the session went on and on. The thing became more and more clear. And so I was in that cell with other people, and I knew I was going to get released. I knew it was not even a question that I would stay there. I knew I was going to get freed soon. But instead of that, I was sent into a higher cell, somewhere really high, because I was in a round cell, and I could see a window with the blue sky with just a ray of light from that cell. And there was no one, and it felt like I was high in a tower somewhere. And the feeling I had was that I was desperate, not because I was in the cell, but because I didn't know what would happen to my country. I had no idea what was happening with my country, if they would win or not, what would happen with my family, if they would be taken prisoner also or not. And apparently I died from hunger because they forgot me in that cell. Nobody was there, so I died of hunger and with that feeling of I should fight for my country.
Wow.
But the interesting thing that happened after this session of past life regression is that I became migraine-free for 5 years, straight. Yeah.
What a change.
Yeah, very strange. Yeah, because we didn't set the session for that. We had no intention for healing this, and I felt a strong pain when I felt the horse hitting me. So physically, I was feeling it as well.
Did you feel it in your head?
In the back of my head, where I usually have the migraine starting.
Oh, right. Yes.
Like in the top of the neck, and that was very interesting. Yeah.
Have you ever thought of doing more past life regression to see if you can cure it permanently?
No, because what I feel is that past life regression like this happen. I don't feel I could have control on that. I think the soul guides you to where you need to be at that time, and there is a very big gap in between what you want and what you need. And when the soul sees what you need, then it takes action, and then it's very difficult for us as human beings to be able to understand what we need. We want things. We say, "Oh, I want to get rid of this. I want to have this," but sometimes, So, but maybe I would try another modality for that. See if that could work.
Yeah, to clear it. How often do you have migraines?
Well, every time I'm stressed. Yeah. Every time I'm tired or stressed, or when the period arrives, so once a month at least, and then on top of it when I have some stressful events. Yeah.
I get migraines, headaches every month because of the moon. So
because of what? Oh?
Usually a full moon.
Full moon, yes. Yeah. Also, full moon is it's the worst. Yeah.
Yeah, but this month so far is good, so we'll see. So
okay.
Some months
maybe you should try the past life.
Oh, maybe. Now, you also had some extreme bad luck for a while there when you were travelling around, and you found some help when you were in Cuba.
Yeah, I did. Actually, it's interesting how bad luck appears in my life. Usually it's when I have issues with other people. So I actually started to get relationship problems when we were in France. We were traveling the world. We had spent a few months in Asia, and then I was in France. We were in France, and I remember I asked for a divorce under the Eiffel Tower because it was so intense, like the relationship. And from there, actually, the bad luck started. That was very interesting.
How did it manifest? How did the bad luck manifest? How do you know it was the bad luck?
Well, first of all, we were in Mexico. We were traveling to Mexico. Well, actually, it started in the U.S. I got sick in the U.S. I was like in bedridden with a big fever and this type of thing. So I was like, oh, it is very unfortunate, right? It's like I can't really say it's bad luck. It's just you get sick. It's normal, okay. But 2 weeks later, we were in Mexico, and we ended up in a place that was infested with bugs, and we could not sleep at night. It was so dirty. It was just awful.
Bed bugs?
Yeah, anything. It was a real zoo. A zoo.
No.
We had everything, all kind of bugs you can imagine: cockroaches, bed bugs, mosquitoes, spiders / Scorpio type of thing. I've never seen before. I don't know what is this bug.
Sounds like a traveler's nightmare.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So I can tell you, and then the bed was dirty.
Yeah.
So I can tell you, I didn't sleep at all that night.
I know, but sometimes when you go to a place and it's all that's left, you're like, I have to do this. Oh no, I have to do this.
Yes, you didn't have the choice. It was already nighttime. You had to go through that. So, and so I was tired, and the breakfast was so small. It was like ridiculous. But we needed to go to the beach by bicycle, because we were traveling by bicycle, right? And it was a hot day, and I was on my bicycle, and actually I was so tired. I decided to close my eyes for a few seconds while I was on my bicycle, so I would find a bit of rest. The road was very boring. It was just a flat and straight road, so I was like, I'm not risking anything. It's fine. I just close my eyes, and I close my eyes a little bit, and it's all good. I close again, and it feels so good. And I close my eyes again, and I actually fall asleep.
Oh no. So closing your eyes on a bike when you're exhausted and you're suffering from potentially black magic sort of curse that you're not really sure yet, it's not going to go well. What happened?
Well, what happened is that I fell, of course, and I fell on a little pole. Actually, I hurt my leg on that, and John was like, "What's going on? Like, how did you fall there? It's like it's impossible. I mean, there's nobody. The road is straight, And
was he behind you, or?
Yeah, it was behind. You saw me entering the pole.
That would have been weird to see.
Yeah. It was like a bit like. Okay, but I explained what happened, and he started laughing because that was so weird.
But you were okay. You just had a small
I was, but I still have the mark there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I still have a mark. There.
Oh, wow.
But I was fine. And then it was time to actually leave Mexico, and we were going to Cuba.
Yeah.
And so fast, quick, we go pack the bags and everything, and because we had to take a little buggy to bring us to the bus. The bus would bring us to another bus, would bring us to the airport. So we had to line up everything perfectly in order not to miss the plane. So it was a little bit stressful. We woke up at 5 a.m. I was really not together. And I packed my backpack, and I don't remember how I packed my backpack, and that was not a very clever way of packing things. But I didn't know until I realized when I arrived in Cuba that I wanted to pay for the Casa Particular, the place where we were staying. As soon as we arrived, I was like, okay, I'm going to pay that lady, and then it's done. And the pocket where I kept all the cash, so there was 3,000 euros cash in that pocket was missing from my backpack.
What?
So talking about bad luck, it's really bad luck because I tend to actually pack things in little pockets and put everything in a bag, right?
Yeah,
so it's
you're
easier.
very specific about it, so you know where things are.
Yeah, so it's easy to find things, right? But there was one pocket missing, and that was this one. That was the one that was the most precious one that was missing.
So was this in carry-on luggage, or?
Yeah, in my backpack. And what I suppose is that in Cancun, I was maybe like very tired and looking around, and someone saw that I was not really on Earth. Yeah. And he had to open the bag, and that was the first thing they could reach out. That was the first thing, and I packed my bag in that way, the worst way you could pack your bag when you travel, and
they snuck it out.
And it was really bad luck, because there could have been any other pockets, but that was this one. And the top of the top is that you cannot take cash out in Cuba. You can't, because if you do, you get 20% fee every time you take some money. So it's a lot of money every time you take $100. You have 20% fee plus the currency conversion. So it's really not an option. And I needed that cash for a month there. That was the cash for the month. So it was gone. We had nothing. We had no money at all. We can't pay by card there because they don't use cards. It's a very underdeveloped country. They don't have the card system. It's all cash. And so I went straight to the police. But it happened in Mexico, so they couldn't do anything for me. But. And I was not in a good space at all. It was very challenging. I had to go to the embassy. The embassy didn't want to help me. I had a very it was quite awful, and it went on and on. I mean, I had bad luck after bad luck after bad luck, like little details. And at one point, John was saying, "Okay, it has to stop. You need to do something because it's becoming ridiculous.
It's affecting everything."
Yeah, every day. I mean, one day I jump on the motorbike to go somewhere. I leave the motorbike and I burn my leg on the exhaust pipe. And so on the moment I'm like, oh, it's just a little burn, right? But actually, when you burn yourself on the motorbike exhaust pipe, it's not a little burn.
It's a deep burn.
It is really bad, and the wound would became really deep. Like a few centimeters deep. It's that intense. So I was in pain, and they don't have really the medicine for that. I tried to put a few things like aloe vera, and the Cuban people told me, put some tomatoes, put some potatoes, put some things, and then and I had this bandage with I found some silver cream, and every time I would remove that, it was like excruciating pain. I've never felt so much pain in my life. It's been horrible, and it went on for like days and days. It said that the burn eats your skin, like it continues to burn throughout the days. Like after 4 or 5 days, it settles, and then you end up with the actual hole in your leg. Yeah, and so I couldn't walk. Of course, it was so painful. I couldn't walk, and it was just like a constant bad luck, constant. So we went to a place called Trinidad. So it's a beautiful little city, colorful city, and then on the street, I meet a guy. You see how the energy is guiding you in your life. If you are low of energy, you will attract low energy people. And I meet that guy on the street, and he starts chatting with me, and he says, I'm a babalao, which is a sorcerer, or I don't know how to call that in English. It's someone who works with spirits and energies, and he can do all sorts of things, go in the good or in the bad. So it's those.
You're in a market and you meet the bubbler?
Yeah, it's in the street, just right in the street, like completely randomly. Like I'm not supposed to talk to anyone, or and this guy approached me, and then could have sensed that maybe I was not in a good space, and he offers me to do a session with me, and I follow him. I trust, I go and I end up in his flat, and I enter the flat, and oh my God.
What was there?
It was scary. It was very scary. It had like voodoo dolls everywhere, chains everywhere, like big chains, and he had like all sorts of magical objects and stuff like that. And at that moment, I said, okay, I think I'll come back later. I need to be on my own right now because I don't feel really good. I'm not up for a session right now. I'm gonna go. And so I left straight away. And that was actually, this guy was actually not a good person. I learned after that he was known for his all this black magic thing, and so I had a good intuition in leaving the place. And when I told that to another lady who was really nice, she was a restaurant owner, and we started to talk actually about all of that, and she said, oh yeah, well, okay, I can recommend you someone who is legit and does white magic, right? Not black magic.
Yeah.
And he's a medium, and he can help you. And so I said, okay. So we went to see that medium guy. He was actually a doctor in a hospital, so it was pretty interesting.
A doctor is also a medium.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah. And we go to his house, and as soon as we arrived, I was with John, and he's like, sorry, I can't hear what you're saying. I say, wow, what? Why is that? He said, no, I can't. I have to deal with John first. I'm like, okay, why? Why is that? He said, yeah, because I can't hear whatever you say, because there is a lady behind John that keeps screaming things at me, and she wants me to tell John what she has to tell him, So I'm like, I'm going to deal with him first, and then we will see what's going on with you. And then he says, she keeps saying to me, kran, 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 something like that. And then...
Was she speaking in another language? Or?
That was a spirit next to John, speaking, like screaming. She had a cane and a little book. Wow. And she was saying, kran, kran, kran. And then this guy from Cuba, right, he speaks Spanish only, right, nothing else. And he said, I don't know what does that mean. And John was like, oh yeah, she wants me to read the Quran, the book, the Quran. It's the Quran in Turkish, right?
Right, okay.
Yeah.
That's John's Turkish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she said, so it's like, okay, now we dealt with her, we can talk with you, because...
So she stopped talking as soon as he got the message across to him?
Well, actually, what happened is that the spirits, they feel when they are with someone who can channel them, and they take any opportunity for that too. If they want to tell you something, if you have a grandma or someone who wants to tell you something, they would take any opportunity to go through someone who's a channel. And that was the perfect opportunity for her, right? And he feels like she's with her all the time, right? So he had like a lot of stories around that. And so we went on me, and he told me actually to do some ritual to get rid of this bad luck. So we had a session, and then he actually channeled my grandfather as well. It was quite impressive to see that he could actually connect so clearly with him. And but after that, he told me that I should go to the beach with 7 different fruits, so a banana, an apple, pineapple, and this and that, and mango.
So these offerings.
7 different fruits, and then I would go in the sea and rub each fruit on my body and throw it in the sea. As an offering for different deities and ancestors. So I would pick deities and ancestors and then do the ritual. And when I was doing the ritual, actually I felt something was shifting as I was doing it. It was pretty intense. And when I left the water, I was a different person.
What do you mean by a different person?
Well, I felt I felt my consciousness changed. Like if like if you are operating in a different way of thinking, and then like when you're depressed or not, a bit low of energy, and then you have this way of thinking that's a bit negative, and then I left the water, and then I was actually very positive, very uplifted and optimistic, and it was a very a real before and after experience, really.
Right, so it was actually like an instantaneous effect.
Yeah. I got like cleared from any negativity I could have accumulated during the past months.
Wow.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
Wow, and did you have any more dealings with any of the spiritual healers in Cuba while you were there?
Not me, but yeah, you can ask John. He's got some stories.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have to catch up with John.
Yeah.
That's great. Great. Okay. Now, do you have any other short stories that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I don't know, like anything else you would be interested in?
Oh, absolutely everything. I'm interested in everything.
Okay, pick another one. We'll do a last one.
Okay, so another one. All right, let me just get the list that you gave me. Okay. Dreams, where you felt that reality had disappeared.
Yeah.
Now, what is that about?
Well, this one is one of the strangest things, because it's not something like most people have experienced. You can't really share that with anyone, well, you can, but people won't really understand, because it's not like when you see a ghost or you have these experiences that I had, like with bad luck, or that is quite spread around. This one is more a very strange experience, like in itself. So I actually I started to have a problem with my hip when we came back to Sydney to pick up some boxes there, because we moved to Brisbane and we still had things there, so we had to spend a week in Sydney. And I started to feel like my hip was not doing very well, but it was okay. I mean, like, it was just a little pain, that's it. But one night I dreamt, so I had a dream, very, very strong dream that felt very real. So I dreamt that my mom invited her ex-boss for lunch, but this boss is very narcissistic and very a bit psychopath as well. So I asked her, wow, why did you invite your boss? It's in our house, it's not a good thing, right? And then she said, oh yeah, it's okay, you just join us, it's gonna be fine. And then I refused and I left the table. And as I went to the garden, my little dog, a little dog that I used to have when I was a kid, he passed a long time ago, but he is always in my dreams. It is very present in my dreams. It feels like he's guiding me or something. It's a little black dog. And I follow him in the garden and I look at him and it disappears like pixelized. So he becomes pixelized and it feels so real. It feels like it's just straight in front of, I can't understand how that happened. It's not logical that a dog would disappear pixelized, right? And I have this strange feel going through all the cells of my body, like something not right will occur. And I look up in the sky and I see those big brown clouds, and on top of it it's like cities, like buildings, like skyscrapers, and it approaches to my direction, and I'm thinking, oh my god, we are getting invaded by the aliens or something, it's like, it's a very scary feel. And I woke up at the time, and then at the same day I started to have intense pain in my hip. So the dream felt like something has shifted from reality. Like it felt like, like you live your normal life in 3D world, and then suddenly everything, all the rules, all the, the gravity, the material realm, those laws are not existing anymore. It's just gonna change completely, and it's what happened after the dream. It felt like my reality had completely shifted. I lost touch it was like void, entering a void and losing myself, something like that.
Right.
Yeah, so very intense like that. That's why it's very hard to describe, because it's almost like, you know, when you go into those other realms, when you take plants and stuff like that, it felt like this. And but my hip started to hurt more and more. At one point I could not even walk. I couldn't sit, couldn't lie down, couldn't sleep at night. The pain was so intense I couldn't do anything.
Was it just one hip or two? Or?
Just one. Just
right.
one. And it just started from there. So that was a very interesting experience. What really also struck me is that this dog that I used to dream of never came back in my dreams after that. I used to dream of this dog every week, and after that he would never appear in any dream. And I recently dreamt again of this dog, but he appeared white. He used to be black, and now it's white. Right. In the dreams.
Okay.
And he's very eerie. He's not as present as he used to be. Like it feels like he's not in the same realm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that's healed since obviously your hip.
No.
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 It's still ongoing.
Yeah, it's chronic now.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. Okay. That's not good.
Yeah. No.
Now you did have a little mention there of plant medicines.
Yeah.
So you've experienced some plant medicines. What happened for you, and
oh wow.
do you have any stories there that are outstanding?
Yeah, I think I will share I won't share my own experience with the plant, because I think you know, everybody who had this experience, they can tell their story, and it's not. I mean, it's always very interesting, but you know, if you want to have an experience, just try, and then you'll have the experience yourself. But what was interesting in my story is the other people in the group. So
first of all, where did this happen?
We were in the jungle in Peru.
In Peru. Yeah.
In a family, in a very like in a tribe.
Yeah,
family
so
tribe.
You're far out in the forest.
Yeah, really far actually. 2 hours bus from the city, Iquitos, and then 2 hours boat ride through the Amazon, and then we ended up in the village. It's not even a village; it's a few huts actually. It's not no village. And then we are in a group of I think 15 people. I think something like that, from all over the world with very different objectives. I can tell you, it was not. Well, I went there for spiritual reasons and, you know, for inner growth. But most people, they came there for, you know, to have a good trip or something. And,
they were tourists.
Yeah. So it was not a good
I
setup.
don't agree with tourism like that.
No. And that was the beginning of it. So it was not like now.
Yeah.
That was like 10 years ago or something. So it was still not so famous, like well known. But still, it started to be a business.
A thing.
Yeah. Mm. So it started to be a business, and people got really jealous. You know, in those the countries that are developing, the jealousy is very intense, very, very intense. Yeah. And what happened is, I learned that after. I didn't know on the moment, because of course no one would tell me. But in the boat, when we arrived, there was the shaman from the other retreat next door with us.
Oh, he was getting a ride.
Yes, he was with us, and he was not happy because
he got work and he didn't.
He lost the clients, right?
Oh,
because we were actually with the family who was working with donations.
Yeah, right.
They were not interested too much with money. They're very natural people. They are very not so much interaction with the Western world. So for them it was more about helping others, and you know. And but this guy, he was having a business.
Yeah.
And he wanted to make money, and so apparently he sent a spell on the group.
Right. So he's doing a bit of the evil eye up on people.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Mm. And so what happened is that we had in the group, we had this Dutch guy who was really like a guy who wanted to have a good trip, and that's all. And he complained that he didn't have enough effect of the plants, right?
Didn't have enough medicine.
Yeah, it was not strong enough, and he didn't feel anything, and So, okay, so the people from the family believed him, and they said, okay, we are going to go to the grandfather garden where he has the most potent ayahuasca, you know, like the plants with the most DMT, apparently. That's what I suppose, you know. And they prepared a special brew for the next day that was super charged, and so people went like over the roof with that with that brew. Thankfully I didn't take it because I was too tired from the previous ceremonies. But the day after, John comes to the kitchen and says, "Oh, I think there is a snake in the room." And I'm like, "Oh my God, we're in the jungle, there's a snake in the room." I'm not, I freaked out. And so we asked the family to give us a hand with that. And then indeed there was a snake there. And then they were like, "Oh my God, this is a snake that never comes to this area. It's a snake that you find deep down in the jungle. They never come around humans." And this snake is deadly. You get bitten, you have 2 hours to find the antidote. Yeah. Otherwise you're dead. But we were 4 hours from the city, so someone would have been.
And this was in your hut?
In our room.
Wow.
In our room, yeah. So they wrestled the snake, poor snake. They killed because they were not equipped for that. So they tried their best, and then they managed to actually kill the snake. It was gruesome, but we were all safe. This guy lost it. The Dutch guy, he lost it at one point. He threatened the organizer with these kung fu moves, and so. Is
this why he was under the medicine? Or?
No, that was during the day. That was after the snake story. After the snake went, the Dutch guy lost it. He threatened the organizer, the American guy organizer. To beat his head off and stuff like that. You know, it was really not a good thing to have while you are going through a journey of healing and medicine.
Yeah.
So he got kicked out. This guy got kicked out.
He got kicked out
from the retreat.
Do they, when they kick them out, do they just put them on a boat and send them back, or?
They were what?
Do they put them on a boat and send them back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Straight back
straight
to
away.
Straight to the city. You know, like goodbye. But so during the night, you know, during the retreat, the ceremonies, it's a round hut where we were lying down for the ayahuasca ceremony, and over the ceremonies, people would feel his energy, which was really toxic. So the mattresses would be going on one corner of the circle, and then his mattress was all on its own on the other side. There was no one around him. And suddenly, because he was gone, like all the mattresses went back to the normal position.
Because his energy was so toxic in the
That's
first
it.
place.
Yeah, exactly. And so the ceremony starts. We take the medicine one by one, and I take the medicine. I take a full cup, and then 5 minutes later, the lady who sits right next to where he used to have his mattress starts sobbing. So but 5 minutes, normally the ayahuasca kicks after 30-45 minutes. So I'm thinking it's not normal. Why is she, it looks like she's already like on the effect, and it's been like 5 minutes. And she starts sobbing, and she sobs more and more and more, and then it becomes like unmanageable for her. She screams help in between two sobs, almost like if she's someone else asking for help.
Wow.
In between two sobs. And so the organizer comes to her, try to calm her down. He can't, of course. So he calls the shaman, and the shaman comes, and then he sings Icaros to her, and then nothing seems to calm her down. And then it lasts for 1 hour like this. So I can tell you, it's all pitch black. You're under the effects of the medicine. You're already going through all the realms, and you have this lady sobbing and sobbing and sobbing. Like it's
So
not
it affects
normal.
everybody.
Yeah, and it's like it's normal to go through different emotion when you go in the journey of this medicine, but this was not normal. I could tell something was up with that. It was not normal. It was like if she was possessed with something.
Right. And how were the helpers working with her? They were giving her Icaros and
Yeah, they would sing some Icaros.
yeah, Mapacho.
And then smoke and smoke cigars around, and then put some agua florida on her, and then all sorts of things. Nothing seems to work. And then I remember I had this little watch that you can light, you can light in the dark, like those 80s watch,
Yeah.
And I felt like it was 1 hour. It was just 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Every 5 minutes I was like, oh my god. And I was fighting the effects of the ayahuasca in order to be in my body, not to leave my body, because I felt something was definitely off there. Something was not right.
Right.
And then an hour later, she stops sobbing, and crying, and then I hear noises that are out of this world, like a monster noise, like it's like, and then I got this. It's not scared. It's not the word. It's terrified. I was terrified. I thought, oh my god, this is horrible. I was already prepped for 1 hour of being like not feeling comfortable with that lady sobbing there, me fighting the effect, and on top of it now I have this, like, that was clear for me. That was clear. She was possessed. That's no other way. I mean, like, it's a small lady, like she can't make those noises herself. It's not possible. And I started to pray Archangel Michael and bring some golden light and love to the whole group and asking for protection, and and my whole session was spent to just doing that. So I was just like praying and praying.
You were doing protection for the group and yourself.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I got the effect. Normally the effect lasts for 8 hours, but I got the effect for almost 24 hours because I fought the effect, and so it stayed in my body for longer.
The resonance of it.
Yeah, and I was really terrified. I was terrified during all this time. The morning after, I wanted to debrief with other people, right? I wanted to talk about what happened, but I couldn't because there was the silent day. That day. Silent day, you can't talk. And so I was like, with this experience in my head, like putting it again and again, and I was like, I'm out of this place. Tomorrow I'll take the first boat, and I'm off. I'm out. The snake, the crazy man, the lady who makes strange noises at night, and terrifying experience. I'm off from this place. It's not for me.
All this is going on. You're feeling extremely uncomfortable. You can't process your experience because you're in silent day.
Yeah.
What happened after that? I mean, did anyone tell you or even discuss what was going on?
Yeah, actually, the day after, the first thing I did is I went straight to that lady and asked her how she's feeling and if she's okay and what happened to her. And she was like, yeah, she said it was unexplainable. I just started to have, like, I couldn't stop myself. It felt like I was not in control of my own body. And what happened is that she felt something was taking over, like, the body. And when the shaman managed to kick that thing that was taking control of her out of her body, then it jumped on the lady who was sitting next to her.
How do you know it jumped?
Because she's starting to make those weird noises.
Oh, okay, so you had the sobbing and the weird noises going on?
Yeah, the sobbing was because she had this thing in her. We don't know what is it, entity, spirit, whatever, I don't know. She was possessed by that thing. And then as soon as they got rid of that thing, it found another body, which was the lady next to her, who was sitting right next to her.
Right. And
she was doing those noises and stuff. So I asked again that lady, like the one who was making those horrible noises. I don't know. I said that's possible, And she said that she had a very strange experience. She felt like she was attacked by a dog. So she saw this Doberman type of dog facing her, and ready to attack. And in those realm, I mean, it's not here in that 3D world, right? It's like under the effect of the ayahuasca in those other world. She faced the dog and she started to go all fours on the floor as well, same position as the dog, and she started to lick the dog.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, explain that.
Because she felt like
she was like friends with the dog.
Yeah, like acting like a dog who would be friendly with another dog to calm him down. Well, what happened is that she saw him turning around and running to the river and jumped in the river, and that was her experience. That was what she saw. But she didn't see much more than that. Actually, I think she lost consciousness while she was doing the noises. The spirit just took over completely of everything, and she was not there. She was out somewhere else.
Yeah, right.
And so I went to see the shaman, and I asked for an explanation, because I was like, hey man, you're supposed to be a shaman, and you struggled to get rid of the weird stuff that happened during the ceremony. And he said, oh yeah, but I'm not really a shaman, a proper shaman. I have spent 10 years studying and learning, but normally you should be spending those 10 years all alone in the jungle without any interruption, but I was already married with kids, so I had to come back, from time to time, and being away from the jungle. And so, yes, I know I do have the skills of shaman, but I'm not a very highly skilled shaman. So, but
credits to his honesty.
Yeah, very honest. Yeah, he was not trying to, And I said, but what happened to you then? Like, what did you see during this event? And he said, well, what happened is that I saw that she had some snakes inside her body, some black snakes. And that's very typical of a curse. So he said, that's when he told me the shaman next door might have been responsible for sending that curse, because the snake thing there is really symbolic of curse. And so he pulled the snakes out of her body through the crown. He was pulling, and then he threw them on the floor. And when they hit the floor, they transformed into thousands of bugs that were running around the room. And they disappeared like this, actually. That's his experience on that.
Wow. And did you stay after that?
I did stay, but I never took any other ayahuasca. I couldn't take it. The other people went to the ceremony. I was present during the ceremony, but I didn't want to be on this realm while I felt like I was very unsafe, unprotected, and anything could have happened. So I wanted to be fully in my body, and then just not allowing anything taking control.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's probably a good place to wind up. We started with Posession and we ended with Posession. So.
I know, yeah. I know. Yeah,
wow, you've had some pretty wild experiences.
Yes,
Yeah,
I did, yeah.
And I'm pretty sure you're going to have more in life, so maybe we'll come back and talk again in the future.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
It's very good having you today. Thank you very much, Alex, for coming and talking to us.
My pleasure.
And it's very appreciated.
Great.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening today. If you have an experience you'd like to share, please get in contact with me. You can do so via Facebook, via Instagram. Just look for the Super Normalized, which is all one word. Search on those apps to find me. Otherwise, you can send me email direct at supernormalized, which is one word, super normalized with a Z, at proton.me. If you like the show, please also share the show to your friends and rate it 5 stars on your favorite podcast app. That way other people can find the show, which means they can get to have their experiences normalized. See you next week.